Hello everybody, how are you doing? I am out of the shop today. To be quite honest with you, I don't have any clue what I'm going to do. My camera was completely dead, so while it was charging, I went ahead and did a little cleanup around the shop, put a few things away that I had drug out. And I think I'm just going to kind of goof off a little bit. I have a couple of things I want to experiment with and try. We're going to see how that goes. If it goes well, I'll show it. If it doesn't, I'll try it again later today or tomorrow or another day, and then I'll show it. But yeah, I'm just out here going to have some fun today. And if anything really worth reporting happens, I promise you guys will be the first to know. Well, I've been out here working for a little while, and I want to show you what I've been working on. Now, if you follow me on Instagram, you've probably already seen it. The first one is the absolute worst one. So this is the first one. Don't be too judgmental. It's a little rough, but I learned quite a bit, and I'll start on another one here soon, and hopefully it'll get a little better and a little better and a little better. But let me flip you around and show you what I just did. This is a penny. Let me see if I can zoom in on it. And basically, I just cut all the negative space out. I left the date, I left Liberty, and In God We Trust. I'm sorry about the focus there. And it's a little bit rough. You know, it needs a little more filing and cleaning up. But as I said, this is the first one. I'm not going to spend much more time on it. I'm going to put it aside and start on another one. And what I think will happen is in the very near future, you will see one of these on a pen blank. I've already talked with a guy about... you remember I did a bunch of bottle cap blanks a while back? Kind of the same process. I'll get a dapping block and I will curve the coin after it's cut to fit a tube, and I'll paint the tube a specific color, and I'll send it off to a buddy of mine who is going to cast it in clear resin, and then I'll turn it, and it should make a really neat pen blank. Now, the cool thing about this is I just cut the negative space out. Designs are limited only by your imagination. I have a lot to do to get better at this. Now, some of you are saying, hey, you know, that's great. You know, you got that great DeWalt 788 over there. What is that? That's multi-hundreds of dollars. I don't have one of those in my shop. And you're thinking, wow, you're going to make these and show me how to make them, but how in the heck am I going to afford to do that? Well, what you're going to do is the same thing I did. I went on eBay and bought this $15 jeweler's saw. This particular one came with 144 blades, and it was let's say 15 and a half. It was under 16 bucks, shipped to my house, free shipping. And that's what I'm using. I'm cutting these by hand. I am not using the scroll saw. It is easier to cut by hand. Let me show you my workstation. Here is my very simple workstation. I have a chair, which most of you probably have in your home. I am using a magnifier with a light behind it because my eyes aren't that great. Hopefully some of you have those. You don't need them. They do make things a little easier. I did not use that to cut, but I started using this when I was filing and cleaning up. And finally I gave up and realized, I need to use that while I'm cutting so that I cut a little better. I've got a little pack of these jeweler files. I think I paid, that one says $1.99. I don't know how long I've had that, probably $5. I've got an acetate brush that I'll use as I'm cutting just to brush the dust off. I've got my saw here. I drilled 1/16 inch holes in the penny. I could put the blade through and then begin cutting from the inside. And this little deal here I made is just a piece of oak. I drilled a hole and I put a penny here so you could see the hole is quite a bit smaller than the penny so that I can hold it over the hole. And then the saw is on the outside of here. Okay, like this, the blade is loose. And I'm able to cut and move the penny around at will to, make the cuts that I need. This is just a couple of straight lines. I just cut a V in there so I can, move it in or out and, just make cutting the penny simpler. This is something that's really new for me, but the thing I like about it is it's inspired me, right? It's got me thinking. It's got me wanting to be back out in the shop. It's got me... I will be back turning before long because of this. It is a gateway to turning again because you will see some of these on blanks. I've already talked with somebody. I'm going to, if I make some that I consider are good enough, if I get decent at doing this, a few of these I'm going to turn into some pen blanks, kind of like I did the bottle caps. Now that I've said that, probably 1,000 people will go do that, and everybody will say, oh, Bob, you copied that off Joe and Janice and Jane and Jill, and no, I didn't copy it. You know what I mean? This is, and really I didn't come up with the idea. This is something that other people have done. There are many people that I think have done this. It's just something for me to do to get me back in the turning and pin turning, to get me back doing what I do and what I love to do. So basically, the channel is going to change a little bit. I don't want to just turn pins. I love turning pins, but I've gotten bored with turning pins, and I think that's one of the reasons why I lost interest. I need to spice things up, change things up a little bit. So I'm going to try some new stuff. As I get better at it, you'll see it on the channel. Hopefully it grows the channel. I'm really excited. Let me tell you guys a quick story of how I got the idea to do this. I got away from the shop and I spent a lot of time working on my stamp collection, and I still have a ways to go. There's quite a bit to do to finish off what I want to finish off. But a buddy of mine at work, we were talking, and I had mentioned that I was collecting stamps and working with stamps, and his grandfather was into philately. And he got to talking about, yeah, my grandfather, I've got him somewhere, a couple of sheets of penny blacks. Now, the penny black is considered the first postage stamp. They're not super rare. I mean, they're a nice stamp. You know, you'll pay a couple of bucks for them, but they're not anything that's unobtainable by, just an average guy like me. Well, that led on to other conversations. He collects coins. So he was talking about his coin collection and going on. And finally, he showed me a coin, brought it in that someone had cut for him. Now, when I looked at the coin, I could immediately tell it wasn't cut, it was stamped. I had seen a similar coin before in a gift shop where they have like a little card in there. It's a little plastic bag, has a card that has like a little prayer or something, and then it has a little shape cut out. So I had seen, I didn't burst his bubble. I didn't tell him that or anything, but I recognized it right away. But because we were talking about cutting, I went home. I started watching some videos on cutting coins and cutting metals. And it kind of intrigued me. And so I said, well, how much does one? I have a scroll saw. And I thought, wow, I could do that on my scroll saw, but the scroll saw moves fast. And I don't want that much speed. I want to take my time and be able to kind of control my cuts a little bit. So I looked at jeweler's saws, and the nice ones are probably about 60, 70 bucks. I didn't want to spend that much. I spent 15, which it's a pretty solid saw. I think it's a German-made saw. It's pretty solid. If I like this and I stay with it, I'll buy a nicer one eventually. And then I looked up how to make the little, not bench, but the little jig for cutting, and I really didn't use a pattern for that. I just basically sort of winged it and cut it out, and it worked well. So I put this together, and I think I have a total of less than 16 bucks invested in this. So it's a venture that anyone could take if they're interested. My hope is to cut a few coins. I'll cut a few more like what you saw with just taking the negative space out, because there are some fancy quarters that you could do. All these state quarters that have come out would be really cool. But I think the main thing for me is I want to cut some unique designs. And of course, when you say unique, how many people have drawn these or used these designs before? It's hard to say. If I know where they come from, I definitely will credit them. But I want to cut some designs out, and the person I've talked to about casting them, I want to work them onto pin blanks, and I want to cast them so that I can turn them and make some unique pin blanks. So we'll see how that goes. Will I offer them for sale? I don't know. It takes a while. And maybe if I get good at cutting these out, it takes quite a while to cut a coin out. It takes a lot of time and patience. So the bad thing is, if I was to do that, I would have to charge quite a decent amount, because you figure a penny is a penny, right? But then the time you spend cutting it out and then shipping it somewhere to be cast, and what I pay to cast it, and then paying to ship it back, and then putting it on, turning it, and then the time to turn it, and then to put it on a pin kit, I'd have to charge a lot for those pins, and I just don't think that I could warrant the cost that I would have to charge to make up even for part of the time that it took. So I don't know that I'll sell the blanks or I'll sell the pins, but I'll definitely show them. And as I get better at this, I'll show you guys how I go about cutting them. Right now, I'm too new and I'm making too many mistakes. And you can see, if you look at the photo I sent you, or if you go to Instagram and blow it up, it's not perfect. It's a lot of jagged edges. I need a lot of work on my technique and a lot of work on my cleanup. And that's what I'm going to focus on. So I've been called in for dinner. You can call me a lot of things. Don't ever call me late for dinner. I'm going to go in. I'm going to eat. I'll be back out. Perhaps I'll have some more to show you. But for now, If not, I'll talk to you again real soon.